3D investigates a subject that'll make some of you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Pornography. High-speed internet porn and its impact on the minds of teenagers. Now, by rights, there should be a tidal wave of concern about this, but there isn't. Funnily enough, it's the porn users themselves who are sounding the alarm. Porn users and scientists who say it can actually change the shape of the brain. Phil Vine set out to shine some light on this huge and hidden problem.
It's consumed in the privacy of teenagers' bedrooms. It's shared around the schoolyards. It's free. It's unlimited. And scientists say it's as compulsive as crack.
Eventually, at 16, I got to the point where I was at my most addicted.
The vast majority of teenage boys are into it, and a surprising number of girls, exposed far younger than you would imagine.
It's slapping and hair pulling and choking and verbal abuse and spitting and making people vomit. And if you were happy with your 10-year-old son watching that, or your 10-year-old daughter watching that, thinking that's what sex is.
This stuff's on family-friendly platforms like YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. And tonight, we present evidence that high-speed internet pornography is actually shrinking and rewiring the human brain.
The reward center says if you don't get that fix of cocaine, if you don't get that porn hit, you're going to die.
If this was about cocaine and children, then everyone would be shouting from the rooftops. But it's not. It's about porn, and porn is embarrassing. No one really wants to talk about it. We'd like to change that.
Here I am on national television, outing myself as a masturbator. Cause engaged, okay, hands up, punching long.
Richie Hardcore, that's not his porn name, but one he adopted in the kickboxing ring. He's outing himself as a man who's watched a lot of pornography, and he started young.
So we're going to put that together. I was 10. I was hanging out with my 10-year-old best friend, and his big brother was like, do you want to watch a porn? And I distinctly remember going, what's porn?
Fast forward into the teen years, and looking at pornography became a daily habit for Richie. And what he saw on the screen was what he wanted in the bedroom.
You know, like what I wanted to do, what I found arousing, how partners would act when we were having sex was very pornified.
So you did what you saw?
Yeah, totally.
And you asked for what you saw?
Yeah, and without much consideration as to why at that point.
How did your partner react to that?
She was like, when we first started sleeping together, I really felt like you were on show, which was an interesting piece of feedback, you know? And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, it was really much like you thought people were watching and you're putting on this performance.
You know, and what I'm hearing you say to me is that you very much learned how to have sex through porn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it took me a long time to reframe that.
So taking a bit of guts to do this. While Richie doesn't reckon he got addicted to internet porn, this 19-year-old does. Adam, not his real name, presents as a confident, good-looking and intelligent young man, but his last few years have been a wipeout.
I was just completely unmotivated for anything, depressed, barely could find a reason to get up in the morning.
No one, not his friends, his parents or teachers, knew why, and still don't.
I basically didn't care what I was doing in school at the time. I didn't care if I was failing or succeeding. The teachers were worried, but they eventually, I think, kind of just gave up.
Adam started watching internet porn when he was 12. How often were you looking at porn?
At least 4 times a week, sometimes up to twice a day, or even more.
Was this on the family computer?
Yeah, it was the family computer, yeah.
Did your parents have any idea that you
No.
were doing this?
I'm pretty confident they were in the dark the whole time.
It wasn't till last year that Adam realised what was happening to him when he tried to stop.
Took me probably 6 months of continuous trying until I made it to about 2 weeks without it.
Wow. Do you think you were hooked?
Yeah, I knew it.
But how could he get help? Even if he could get up the guts to talk about it, porn addiction isn't an accepted medical condition. Adam had to turn back to the internet.
What's up, everybody? My name is Gabe Deem, and this is the Reboot Nation. It's a channel and free online community to help people recover from porn-related problems.
On Reboot Nation, Adam found thousands of young men in the same boat. The site's based in Dallas, Texas. We went there to find out what might be going on for Adam and all the others overtaken by the juggernaut of high-speed internet porn. Reboot Nation founder Gabe Deem.
There's tons of guys that grew up with internet porn that just watched porn because we liked it. We liked watching naked girls have sex. And then we develop problems after years of conditioning ourselves to that. So we don't have social problems, we don't have relationship problems to start with. Those develop after porn use. And it's happening to everyone that has unlimited access to porn.
Gabe started viewing cable porn regularly when he was 8. 4 years later, his parents got high-speed internet.
My friends were very tech savvy, and they would, give me pieces of paper with websites and where I could find it for free, and then also teach me how to delete my history. And so I was doing that as a 12-year-old. I'd come home from middle school and watch, hardcore porn for a couple hours before my parents came home. And that continued all through high school and into college.
Gabe says all his male friends were into it, and Adam says the same.
Everyone I knew was watching it, and it was...
Everyone?
It was more common than not, yeah.
You're always told, too much of that and you'll go blind.
Right.
But did you have any idea what sort of harm you were doing yourself?
I had no idea that it could have a negative physiological impact on me. No clue. At the time, it was all jokes, giggles, and pleasure. Never really thought how it was impacting me, never really cared how it was impacting me. I didn't realize it was a problem until I had porn-induced erectile dysfunction when I was 23, when I realized I could no longer be aroused with the real partner, and I became dependent on porn to feel anything.
Is this going to be safe?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you go first.
It's definitely safe. Built it sturdy.
Texan boy Gabe Deem describes a charmed childhood, good at basketball, popular at school.
Remember I dated her. How was work today?
It was good.
Yeah.
Not too busy.
But the first time he tried to get intimate with his present girlfriend, trouble struck.
Well, we had a nice night on the town out in Dallas, and we went back to the hotel, and I asked her to get in the shower with me, and I was ready to, go into sexual activity. And as we were getting ready to do it, I couldn't feel any arousal. And so we tried some things that typically have historically turned me on, some of my favorite things, and nothing that we tried did anything. And so I was freaked out because I was very attracted to her.
The same thing was happening to Adam in Wellington.
So at age 17, I had another girlfriend, and at that point, we went to have sex, and nothing happened. I didn't have a physical response at all.
So the real thing just didn't do it for you anymore?
No, didn't at all. If I'd seen her on a screen, I would probably have more of a physical reaction than seeing her in real life.
But Adam and Gabe had no problem getting an erection behind a computer. So what was wrong? Could all the porn they'd been watching have done something to their brains?
Now there's the nerve. You see it right there?
Don Hilton's been peering inside people's heads for 21 years, a brain surgeon in San Antonio, a world expert on this stuff.
I think there's ample evidence that pornography rewires the brain in a very dramatic fashion.
4 years ago, Don put forward the controversial theory that internet porn could be as addictive as cocaine.
We predicted that based on the way sex causes these reward chemicals in the brain to be produced, that we would see some of the same brain scan findings that we find with drugs.
And the latest research seems to be proving him right. At Cambridge University, they scanned the brains of 19 compulsive porn users and 19 healthy men while watching explicit internet pornography. Researchers wanted to know what would happen to their reward centres. That's the part of the brain which lights up when we do the things we enjoy, like eating or having sex. It's fueled by packets of dopamine.
And they turn it on. And they make that cell say, this is pleasure, this is rewarding, I want this, this feels good. It rewards our brain, it gives us a buzz.
While the control group got a little buzz from the porn, the reward centres of the porn users lit up like Christmas trees, just like the scans of cocaine addicts. They wanted more, and they wanted it now.
An individual that's addicted to porn, just as one that's addicted to cocaine, experiences a sensitization or an overshoot. And when they see a cue for cocaine or porn, then their brain over-responds, as opposed to someone that is not addicted.
I never considered myself addicted back in the day, but now I can clearly see that, yes, I was an addict. I was constantly craving porn. I was turning down real-life sexual opportunities, and I eventually got to the point where I was dependent on porn to function normally.
There are still academics out there who say there's no such thing as porn addiction. It's just people with high libidos doing their thing. Do you think that porn addiction has been proven beyond doubt?
To me, the proof has been there for several years. A study out of Germany, it showed that there
And last year, more supporting evidence. The Max Planck Institute in Germany identified 2 physical changes in the brains of internet porn users. First, a rewiring of the frontal lobe, the part of the brain that tells us to stop overindulging, our braking system.
it's essentially wearing out of the braking system. It's impeding the signal from the brake to the reward center. So the brake doesn't work as well.
So you're driving your car towards porn heaven and the brakes just aren't working.
You've worn out the brake pads.
The second and most stunning neurological discovery, that high-speed internet porn might actually shrink the brain.
This change in volume, the shrinkage in this reward area, was more pronounced the more hours per week the person watched pornography.
And that means less grey matter in the part of the brain associated with decision-making and motivation. It makes sense of Adam's symptoms.
Complete lack of motivation for anything in life.
Apart from porn?
Yeah, apart from porn.
There's a third aspect of this emerging science which is even more worrying from a social point of view. The more porn you watch, the more extreme your brain wants it to be.
Something that I would have been incredibly fascinated at age 12 was just having no response in my brain at that time, so I had to seek out a harder hit.
So he needs more. The same porn isn't going to do it. It's going to require a bigger kick.
It started out very softcore, with me Googling body parts, right? And then it would escalate to, a couple guys, one girl, or gangbangs. And then it kind of, varied what I would watch. And I would search for things that were shocking or that created anxiety, like very abusive and misogynistic stuff.
But why would our brains do that to us?
Novelty. Our brains want to learn something new. We're always trying to learn something new. It's what we do. Our brains want to learn. And we need new. And new is aggression. New is younger.
I was here at the University of Auckland just on Wednesday, and we were talking about like what are things that we can do as men to reduce violence against women.
Richie, DJ, drug and alcohol counsellor and reformed pornography user.
It's like a horrible Pandora's box.
He's sworn off the porn because of damage to himself and others.
You need leadership. You need people to be brave and to be honest. You need people, you know, John Kerwin comes out and talks about depression. Get some role models to come out and be like, yo, porn, you know, this is what we're watching en masse.
Research shows that the average age children first see online porn is 10. There's no stats on New Zealanders, but in Australia, the UK and the US, 8 out of 10 young men are watching internet porn and 3 out of 10 young women. It's far from a minority sport. So what's the answer? Do we take away the technology? Do we ban the websites? What do you do?
No, I'm not for banning, and I don't think we should take away technology. I think we need more education about the reward circuit in the brain, and I think you need more education, better sex education for kids that includes the brain science, because that's missing in education right now.
Something's certainly missing in New Zealand. When we tried to talk to schools about the science of porn addiction, and we tried more than 20, they all ran a mile, all except one. We're about to have one of the frankest conversations that's ever been had about internet porn inside a New Zealand classroom, Green Bay High in West Auckland.
Have you guys seen anything online that's made you feel uncomfortable? Yeah? Raise your hands. Yeah? Yes,
the reason we're here, up till now, schools have never broached the subject of porn in class, even though the government commissioned a paper this year suggesting they should start. So we've flown in Liz Walker, a sexuality educator from Australia, to get the ball rolling.
The reality is that all schools have an issue with porn, and they really need to say, you know what, this is widespread. We're going to take the bull by the horns and really do something to open up conversation around this. Can you write down everything that you can possibly think of when you think of the word porn?
For these seniors, it's the first time they've had a class exercise quite like this.
You can be totally edgy. That's nobody's get into trouble, all right? Male dominant.
And they're not stuck for ideas.
Threesomes count as orgies?
Yeah.
Or is that something?
Yeah, do they? No, it's group sex, so I guess.
I reckon it's just getting younger and younger, like watching it.
Okay, so shock me. What's some ones that I can write up that's, what do you think's bestiality?
There we go.
You could have led up to that one. Rape?
Like body image?
Impacting body image? Yeah, so they've got massive penises and breasts and...
Every single student in this room has been exposed to porn in some way.
Did anybody write down revenge porn?
Yeah.
So they're quite clued up about the cultural impact.
What's the biggest key in that?
It's like the breach of consent and...
Breach of consent, that's right.
Most people think porn addicts are shut-ins with no social lives, and they're using porn...
But then we played them Gabe's story, and that was entirely new territory. The idea that you could get addicted to porn, that it could affect your brain and ruin your sex life, certainly held their attention.
Because whenever you wipe yourself off with napkins, you're still sitting in a chair all by yourself with your pants around your ankles. I always tell guys on my forum that there's no amount of porn that can ever love you back.
Yeah, so no amount of porn that can ever love you back. What do you think of that video? Pretty real, isn't it?
I think like Gabe's the perfect example of how vital it is to like be educated when you're younger. Like he said in hindsight that he didn't think he was addicted, but maybe if he was more educated, like when he was younger, then.
This seminar has made me reflect on on porn habits, and I think that knowing that erectile dysfunction and other mental problems coming as a result can definitely affect somebody's intention to watch porn.
Especially what Gabe talked about is nobody really has that much of an idea about how big of a deal porn addiction is.
So actually talking about porn was far from the exercise and embarrassment that other schools might have feared.
I guess just really re-examining the way we manage sexuality education in schools, because porn's not going away, like you said, so we have to look at other means of rectifying the situation.
Do you think parents have any idea of what's available in a general
There's
sense?
so much just naivety about what kids and teenagers watch. It's like, I mean, they just don't think about it at all.
Maybe we found a way to start this conversation.
The seminar today was just brilliant. I loved it. And thank you. I love what you guys are doing. Continue it.
So these students welcome it. The experts and porn addicts say it's long overdue. Isn't it time teachers, principals and parents got over their own embarrassment and started talking about this naked elephant in our children's rooms? So as a 12-year-old, would you have listened to an adult who tried to have a conversation with you about this?
I've thought about this question many times, and I think I would have. If you would have told me, you know, little Gabe, if you watch porn, it can lead to negative effects, especially ruin your sex life, which as a 12-year-old was the one thing I cared about for my future, I think I would have listened. I for sure would have cut back a lot, but I think I would have stayed away.
Well, good on Green Bay High School for being brave enough to step up. They are now going to set up regular lessons on pornography, and we really hope that other schools are going to follow their lead. Now, on our website are links to places that you can go if you think that you might have an addiction problem with porn. And there's also an extended interview with Gabe, who has advice for parents on how to start talking to their kids about this. And Gabe is also online now, all the way from Dallas, Texas. He's on our Facebook page, ready to answer any questions that you might have.